Middle-length sayings. Middle 50 discourses. Discourse with Assalāyana. Thus have I heard, at one time the Lord was staying near Svath in the Jita Grove in Anthapiaka's monastery. Now at that time at least 500 Brahmins from a number of districts were residing at Svath on some business or other. Then it occurred to these Brahmins, this recluse Gotama lays down the purity of the 4 castes. Now, who is capable of arguing about this saying with the recluse Gotama? At that time the Brahmin youth Assalāyana was residing at Svath. He was young, his head shaven, 16 years of age from his birth, he was master of the 3 Vedas, proficient in the marks of a great man. Then it occurred to these Brahmins, this Brahmin youth Assalāyana is residing at Svath. He is young, his head shaven, proficient in the marks of a great man. He is capable of arguing about this saying with the recluse Gotama. Then these Brahmins approached the Brahmin youth Assalāyana. Having approached, they spoke thus to the Brahmin youth Assalāyana. Good Assalāyana, this recluse Gotama lays down the purity of the 4 castes, you go, good Assalāyana, and argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. When this had been said, Assalāyana the Brahmin youth spoke thus to those Brahmins, truly, sirs, is the recluse Gotama a speaker on Dhamma, but speakers on Dhamma are difficult to argue with. I am not able to argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. And a second time these Brahmins spoke thus to the Brahmin youth Assalāyana, good Assalāyana, this recluse Gotama lays down the purity of the 4 castes, you go, good Assalāyana, and argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. A wanderer's life is led by the good Assalāyana. And a second time Assalāyana the Brahmin youth spoke thus to those Brahmins, truly, sirs, is the recluse Gotama a speaker on Dhamma, but speakers on Dhamma are difficult to argue with. I am not able to argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. And a third time these Brahmins spoke thus to the Brahmin youth Assalāyana, good Assalāyana, this recluse Gotama lays down the purity of the 4 castes, you go, good Assalāyana, and argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. A wanderer's life is led by the good Assalāyana. Let not the good Assalāyana be defeated in a defeat without resistance. When this had been said, Assalāyana the Brahmin youth spoke thus to those Brahmins. Sirs, truly the recluse Gotama is a speaker on Dhamma, but speakers on Dhamma are difficult to argue with. I am not able to argue about this saying with the recluse Gotama. All the same, I will go at the bidding of the reverend ones. Then Assalāyana the Brahmin youth together with a large concourse of Brahmins approached the Lord. Having approached, he exchanged greetings with the Lord. Having conversed in a friendly and courteous way, he sat down at a respectful distance. As he was sitting down at a respectful distance, Assalāyana the Brahmin youth spoke thus to the Lord. Good Gotama, Brahmins speak thus, only Brahmins form the best caste, all other castes are low, only Brahmins form the fair caste, all other castes are dark. Only Brahmins are pure, not non-Brahmins, only Brahmins are own sons of Brahm, born of his mouth, born of Brahm, formed by Brahm, heirs to Brahm. What does the good Gotama say about this? But, Assalāyana, Brahmin wives of Brahmins are known to have their seasons and to conceive and to give birth and to give suck. Yet these Brahmins, born of woman like everyone else, speak thus, only Brahmins form the best caste, heirs to Brahm. Although the good Gotama speaks thus, yet Brahmins still consider it thus, only Brahmins, heirs to Brahm. What do you think about this, Assalāyana? Have you heard that in Yona and Kamboja and other adjacent districts there are only 2 castes, the master and the slave? And that having been a master one becomes a slave, having been a slave one becomes a master. Yes, I have heard this, sir. In Yona and Kamboja, having been a slave one becomes a master. In reference to this then, Assalāyana, on what strength and authority do Brahmins speak thus, only Brahmins form the best caste, heirs of Brahm? Although the good Gotama speaks thus, yet Brahmins still consider it thus, only Brahmins form the best caste, heirs to Brahm. What do you think about this, Assalāyana? If a noble made onslaught on creatures, took what had not been given, wrongly enjoyed pleasures of the senses, were a liar, of slanderous speech, of harsh speech, a gossip, covetous, malevolent in mind. Of wrong view would only he at the breaking up of the body after dying arise in the sorrowful way. The bad born, the downfall, nikaya hell, and not a Brahmin? Nor yet a merchant?